Oh, it's just Jord.
Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another Life is Strange 2 theory video and analysis. And wow, if you haven't already seen it, I suggest that you go and watch the trailer before I go and ruin it for you. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, for all of us that have seen it, let's get into the trailer and talk about what happened, and then we can theorise further. So we'll first talk about the trailer and we'll get into that jazz, and then let's break down every frame and see what we can see. So the first thing is when the trailer begins, we are greeted with Sean and Daniel walking down the side of a road. What's actually important to note here is the season. If we look at the leaves, apart from some of the trees in the background, we can actually see some of the leaves are browning, which can indicate the time of the season is autumn. Now this information is going to be more useful towards the end of this theory video, so keep that in mind. After we see them walking down the road, we cut to a shot of Daniel who looks up into the sky, and then we hear the voiceover. What are we going to do now? This is an indication, I believe, that Daniel, not knowing the situation that he's in, as we get further into the video yet again, it will become more clearer. Then after Daniel's seen spotting up into the sky, we are shown a very quick cut part of the video which tells the story of why the kids are running away and why they're running towards Mexico. Don't worry, this comes up again throughout the trailer. I will break this down further and put it into a sort of order which I believe is how it came about. Then after that scene, Sean says the following: "There's nothing we can't do." Then we go into the title screen where the logo is shown and we get to see the first playable episode date release. After that shot, we are greeted with another voiceover from Sean that says, "I have no idea where we are." I think this is another indication about how the game will give the player hard choices, and you, as playing as Sean, will have to try and deal with these issues, even though Sean is just a child himself. Then we see even more shots of the brothers walking down the road and looking at the leaves, etc. At this point we hear Sean speak out again, and he says, "I don't think Daniel understands what's going on." I think this is a pretty good indication and a backup of the theory that Daniel was not the cause of the explosion in the teaser trailer, as we will see in this trailer that when the confrontation happens, that Sean is carrying Dan away from the scene. Yet again, this will be more relevant in the future of this video. Then Sean says the following line: "I can't tell him the truth now, I just can't." Now this indicates to me that Sean is guilty of something or knows something more than Daniel. This is one of the reasons that I believe that it's Sean with the powers. What's interesting about this scene, as both brothers put their hands on the car window, we actually see some of the writing on Sean's hand. Now at first thought, this couldn't be important and relevant, could it? But I believe that it's just a small list that Sean has created. It seemed to contain just a few words such as maybe cash and food, and the others we can't particularly make out, and believe me, I have thrown it in Photoshop and I've tried a few combinations, but I can't make out any other words than food or cash. So to me, it just seems like a list of how to survive maybe that Sean has created. But anyway, another interesting point is if we take a look at Daniel's top, it looks to me that the top has a picture of a spaceship or a type of rocket, as a clear indication that both Chris and Daniel enjoy some type of comic that's influenced them both, and thus this must be a much seen popular comic within the universe of Life is Strange. Anywho, Sean says some more dialogue, which is, "How am I supposed to take care of us out here?" Now, the line is another statement that I theorise of them being children, and the hardships to come in the game. But what I want to point out more is the clothing that Daniel is wearing at this point. If you look closely, you'll notice a few points of interest on his shirt. The first one is the blood on the arm. So this blood could be from the father or the officer. The other thing is how the shirt has been ripped and now looks like it's damaged either by fire or some sort of tear, which I could theorise could be from the blast that we see in the teaser. Now this part of the reveal trailer is the real juicy bit, and this is where a lot of the good information is contained. So first, let me play it to you how it was intended by its creators. Then, after that, let's put the scene in order, and so then we can talk about what's actually going on.
On the ground! Don't move! Oh,
There's nothing we can't do.
So, did you catch anything you saw that might interest you? I know interesting stuff, right? So let's break it down. So, at the start of this, let's call flashback, we can see Sean pulling out a newspaper clipping, and thus Sean begins to proceed to read it. During this time, the music changes massively to match the situation. But for those of you with a keen eye, you'll want to know what it actually said in the article. Well, it just so happens I actually noted it down, and this is how it went. Shooting in South Seattle. A police officer was found dead next to the body of Esteban Diaz, 45, who was apparently shot by said officer. The only witness, a teenager, was knocked unconscious during the incident and remains in the hospital. The details of the case are not clear, while Diaz's two sons, Sean, 17, and Daniel, 9, are now wanted for questioning. Police believe that, end quote. Also, you probably have seen the article in The Awesome Adventures of Captain Spirit, and believe you me, they do tie together very well. Let me read you that article in full. So it goes like this. Local police face more protest in shooting death, brackets Seattle. Small riots and protests have continued to mount 1 month after the unexplained deaths of a local man and a police officer. An official statement from the police has not been released, but sources say the man appeared to have been shot by the officer, while the latter's cause of death remains unknown. The Seattle Police Department have been accused by civil rights groups of mishandling the incident, which led to the public protests and rioting. End quote. So, from these articles we can confirm that they're reporting on the same situation. More importantly, it gives us a time window. As you know, autumn, or fall if you're in the USA, ends around sort of September-ish, and thus this fits our time where Chris would meet Daniel and Sean in the winter 1 month after the incident. So my theory on meeting Chris is that we will bump into him in the second sort of episode, and we will meet him before he falls in his own game. Now, with that being said, I think it's time to put the fast cuts in order so we can properly see what's going on. So this image shows the format that was given to us via the video, but I want to mix this up and put it in an order that I think makes more sense. So, here it is. And this is how I think it basically goes, and this is basically the theory of how I think it goes. Number 1, he reads the paper cutout, that's pretty standard. The second slide will be he punches the other guy, likely it's another kid the same sort of age as him, maybe a potential bully. The third scene will be the cop arrives at the scene to try to defuse the situation by asking Sean to get on the ground. The fourth scene will be Sean does what he says, but with hesitation, and the fifth scene, the officer asks the other person to get down, same as Sean. And then in the sixth scene, the officer warns the other person for a second time. And the seventh scene, the third time the officer asks, he goes to shoot the weapon. In the next scene, Sean knows that the shot has been made and unleashes his power after the officer shoots the weapon. And then in the next scene, he will get up, and the scene after that, he can't believe that he causes this. After that scene, we the people in the cutscene see the destruction that has been caused, and then after Sean has finished knocking everyone out with this magical ability, he grabs Daniel and runs. So that's how I believe the correct timeline is going with this trailer. And after this scene, we hear a dialogue between Sean and Daniel, where Daniel says, "What are we going to do now?" To which Sean replies in the trailer, "There's nothing we can't do as long as we're together." Now, we know from the jump cut part of the trailer that this dialogue cannot take place right after the incident. Now, I theorise that this takes place after Daniel wakes up away from the scene of the crime, and Sean has to make up some type of story not to alarm Daniel. As we hear him in the beginning of the video, Sean is having a hard time trying to decide what to tell Daniel what happened, which makes me and my theory mind believe that Sean is guilty for killing the officer. I don't believe that it was Sean that killed the dad potentially, but maybe after the shot from the officer killed him, that's when Sean's powers awoke and he used them. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is my theory and analysis video for Life is Strange 2. Let me know what you guys and gals think in the comments below, and remember, if you want to see some more Life is Strange 2 theories and other types of videos related to gaming theories, make sure to hit subscribe and be up to date with every new release that comes from the channel. And remember, if you enjoyed this video and or didn't like the video, you know what to do. Hit a like if you enjoyed it and hit a dislike if you didn't. If you have your own theory about what's going on in this trailer, don't be afraid to share it. We're all here to discuss Life is Strange 2. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching today's theory video, and I hope you're having a great morning, day or night wherever you are in the world. And until next time, I'll see you in the next theory video. Bye!